So today is March 19th. We're running a little behind.
Yeah, we had a show open.
We did. We
So
do local community theater, and it was Tech Week, what we in the non-business refer to as Hell Week.
I've never heard it referred to as that. Like it's always been Tech Week for me.
Really?
Yeah, I've never. I mean, I know other people have referred to it as Hell Week, but I never have. And none of the productions I've ever been a part of have ever referred to it as Hell Week. It's always just been Tech Week, and that kind of was a all-purpose term for, you know,
Everything.
yeah, for the hell we were about to go through. But yeah, and especially for this show, which we're in the play that goes wrong, one of our favorite plays,
Uh-huh.
and one of my favorite shows, one of my new favorite TV shows. So we've had a ball, but it is a physically demanding.
Incredibly. And being I'm 40 or 44,
Yeah, and
it's
yeah, it's
it's an adventure.
so yeah, so unfortunately we did not get a chance to record our review this week, so we're a little bit behind, but we're planning on trying to get caught up over this next week
So
and
you
get back.
might get two episodes this week.
Yeah,
But even if you get one episode this week and one next week, that sounds wonderful.
I know. I mean, it's the gift of us.
Right.
And judging by how many of you have been listening, many of you are asking if you can return the gift of us for another purchase. But
Oh hush. We are happy for every single one of you who listens.
that's
So
right. We really are. So thank you very much.
now this week, well, technically last week,
Yeah.
we had one of the big so-called events of Hollywood, um,
Oh, the Oscars.
the Oscars.
Yeah.
Now you have feelings about the Oscars,
Well, see, and that's kind of the thing is we were gonna previously because when we were going to record this episode, the Oscars had not happened yet, and I wanted to bitch, moan, and complain about the best Oscar or the best film nominees because I mainly that I was mad that Top Gun Maverick got nominated.
I know,
Like,
so ridiculous,
I was on record against my will in some cases of saying Top Gun Maverick was not a bad movie.
but not an Oscar
No, it was
movie.
not an Oscar worthy movie by any stretch of the imagination. But the Oscars have happened since then, and I can't really be mad because just looking at the people who won best actor
Um,
awards like
yeah,
across the board, it was too good of a feel good thing. I can't be
it was.
mad.
I know it's really confusing feeling because you know, growing up and even into my 20s, I was, I watched it every year. It was appointment viewing. We even to the points of like having little mini Oscar parties when I got older. But in the last decade, as you become more aware of how the world works, and you look and say, okay, this is not representative of how the world actually is, and something seems to be off here, that you start going, no, I don't feel right really watching these awards anymore, when so many people are obviously being ignored. And so it's kind of a very confusing feeling to be like, hey, they actually did okay with this one.
Well, but here's the thing, and I don't know. I saw Everything Everywhere All at Once. I reviewed it. It sounds like a movie that should be right up my alley, and me just going, "Yay!" I'm sorry. I'm one of the ones it did not really affect. I didn't think it was the greatest thing ever. I thought it was unique and definitely deserved some credit for being something completely weird and out there that somehow made it past the studio system. So I can't really go off on yay that movie won. But what I can go off on is I think just good people won the Oscar this year,
Hmm.
and you can debate with me if they deserve the Oscar for that particular performance, and I can definitely see that argument. Uh, but you can't take away from the feel good moments of these people who are just good people, had good stories, and how can you not be happy Michelle Yeoh won?
Oh my gosh. Now she's a powerhouse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How can you not love Michelle Yeoh? How can you not be happy that Jamie Lee Curtis
Is this
won?
Michelle Yeoh's first Oscar?
It's her first Oscar. I think she might have been nominated for Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Was
I
she in
was
that one?
wondering.
Like I think she might have been nominated, but it's her first Oscar. And of course, the kid from Goonies.
Right.
Short round, Data. I know he has a real name, but to me, a kid of the 80s, that's who he is. And Data won an Oscar.
Ah,
I mean, come on. And thanked his mom.
I
How
know.
can that not be a feel good story? And then of course, for me, Brendan Fraser.
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
I just love Brendan Fraser and how much he's been through in the past, 15 years to see him
yeah.
kind of bounce back and still be a great guy by
Yeah.
all accounts, like starting to see the benefits of it's kind of like enjoying Jennifer Coolidge getting these awards because she's been such a hard worker and a reliable talent and by all accounts a good person to be around.
And I can say, now again, you can debate with me if the people from everything everywhere all at once deserve the Oscars for their performance. You can debate that with me. Brendan Fraser, no. I saw The Whale, and while I don't think The Whale itself was the greatest movie I've ever seen, that performance was something special.
Well,
He earned every inch of it.
I looked it up, and I don't think Michelle Yeoh actually did get nominated for Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, which is a shame because
Hmm.
that was excellent. But I would say that Brendan Fraser has been a talent for years. Like, sure, he started off in things like Encino Man. One of my favorite movies that I watch like repeatedly is George of the Jungle, which completely holds up, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
I think it completely holds up. And I know that there's a lot of things like that. The Mummy trilogy is in there, but he was in things like School Ties and Dogfight and oh gosh, I'm trying to remember the name of this one he was in where he was a college student with other college students who took in this unhoused man played by Joe Pesci.
Oh, The Fisher King.
No, no,
No,
that's not
no.
it. It was I want to say it was called With Honors.
Yeah, it is actually. That's it.
And he was really excellent
Yeah.
in that and Gods and Monsters. I mean, when he was getting work, he was a talent
Yeah.
and he had a lot of range. And I think that he is showing that he can still have that range.
Yeah, and so I will not hear words against Brendan Fraser or his performance in The Whale. It was truly remarkable.
Now, what do you think about Jamie Lee Curtis getting an Oscar?
You know what? I have no problem with it.
Okay.
I have absolutely no problem with it, and I don't see why anyone would. For the same reasons as I don't have any problem with Michelle Yeoh getting an Oscar, of someone who's worked hard, been a consistent presence in Hollywood, has had to eat a lot of shit,
I mean, yeah, I mean,
and
she's a Nepo baby technically, but
yeah,
she's made her own
I
way,
mean, she started out as a scream queen,
right?
so from scream queen
And
to
comedies.
yeah, to Oscar, I mean, I
Hmm.
think she deserves it. I really now again, and this is where I start to get hung up with some where I am with Oscars and awards right now is I look at them more as sometimes not necessarily did that performance win or deserve it, but did that person. And in this case, yeah, I think Jamie Lee Curtis deserved it. I think she did I think she's always been a great actor and she's put up with a lot. And I have no problem. Was it a great performance? I don't know. I personally didn't think it was that great, but
Do you
I
know,
like
I've
Jamie Lee Curtis.
actually not seen that
Yeah, it's
because I was working, I think, two jobs at the
I've got
time when it
I've got
came
the
out.
Blu-ray downstairs somewhere. If we unearth it, you can, it's
uh, the thing about Jamie Lee too that has been making me smile is she's had a trans daughter come out, fairly recently. And in all of her interviews and all of the kind of fun social media stuff she's done with it, she's given her Oscar non-binary pronouns and refers to them as they them, and I just think that's kind of sweet. And anything you hear about Jamie Lee Curtis is also, she's one of those people who is is someone you want to be on set with.
Yeah.
So
So, and I know there are people out there who may be listening to this and maybe wanting to start some debate. I know there's some Oscar purists. I know a few who, really get into it and they go and they watch all the movies and they make their, and that's fine and dandy. But don't come at me with any of this. Well, this performance, that the Oscars, like any other award show, are bought and paid for. They
that's true.
are
And
they are creations of the studios to get you to go watch their movie. So
well, and
don't.
this year there was, a controversy about an independent filmmaker who apparently broke the rules when trying to lobby for Oscar nomination. And so this year especially just kind of shows that it's not entirely on the up and up the
Yeah,
way
so
that
I
it's
mean, so
done.
don't. It's just like the Grammys, okay? They were in, and it's not. This is not also to discredit anybody who's won an Oscar. It's not to say that if you have one, or if a movie you liked or a performance you really loved won one, that you did not deserve this. For instance, I'll be completely honest with this. Another great thing about the Oscars, the Guillermo del Toro
Right. No.
Pinocchio won Best Animated Feature. I know a young lady who interned on that movie. I taught her. I directed her as a teenager.
And you love Guillermo del Toro.
And to see her on Facebook with all these awards that the movie has won, it gives my heart such joy. So it's not to say that people who win these awards don't deserve them.
Right.
It's just to say we as an audience should not get so wrapped up in it.
And whether or not they won an award or not.
Yeah,
Because,
exactly.
I mean, you never know what's going to speak to you, and you never know what's going to just hit the right button or completely turn you off. So,
You know.
um,
But anyway, I was going to rant about Oscars. I was going to get all pissy, but I just can't. There was too many feel-good moments, not just all of these people. A former student won an Oscar, and I cannot be prouder of that.
right.
So
Now, we will never watch that movie.
probably not, because I am terrified of Pinocchio. So we're
So,
not gonna. That is.
but kudos.
Yeah, well done, Jesse. I'm incredibly proud of you. I wanna stress that right now. If you're listening, I am so very proud of you. So well done.
So on to our review of the week. What are we going to be reviewing this
Well,
week,
we
Henry?
had said we were gonna go see Creed, but that got put on hold. We're gonna see that this week because we had family movie night with the girls, and we went and saw Champions with Woody Harrelson. Despite our youngest thinking we were going to the boxing movie, and she spent the first like 25-30 minutes of the movie mad because she thought we took her to a boxing movie, and then wondering when the boxing was going to happen. So we're going to be taking a look at that. So before we get into that, you had some thoughts you wanted to express, or did you want to save those for the review proper?
Well, let's get to the review. Let's
Okay.
take a break.
So,
Okay, so let's talk Champions.
yeah, and sorry if my voice was coming through a little more distorted. I've been told I go into theater voice when I do these, so I start projecting. So we can't seem to get the microphone far away enough.
There's a reason his mic stays on the lowest level setting
They should
during the show.
They should just turn it off.
Okay, so we went to go see Champions. Champions is a movie about it's the classic tale of guy does stupid thing, court tells him he has to
Well,
do nice
let me put it
things.
to you this way. Have you seen the Mighty Ducks? Because it's the plot to the Mighty Ducks with basketball instead of hockey, and
People with disabilities instead of children.
instead of, yeah, people with disabilities instead of a ragtag group of
Mhm.
lovable misfits. You
So,
know?
since we are talking about a movie that has a lot of disabled actors and focuses on disabled characters, we want to kind of address that first. And since, you know, we have people with disabilities in our life, um, but we don't necessarily have people close to us with Down syndrome or with the levels of autism spectrum disorder to which is portrayed in the film. Um, we wanted to kind of see what the people with disabilities were saying about this. So we did a little research. I reached out to friends with children who were disabled and to kind of get the point of view from the disabled community on this. And basically, the consensus is better, but still needs work. It's a good first step, but we're ready to take the next step. At least we have people with disabilities actually portraying themselves rather than having, you know, Sean Penn um, do a mimicry for 2 hours. But we need to find more stories that are centered on the people with disabilities themselves. And so we'll continue, talking about that aspect of it as we go through. We just wanted to make sure that the audience knew that is something we're aware of and also something we put a lot of thought into as we went through this and kind of figured out where the movie sat for us.
Yeah.
So summarize.
Okay, so as I've said, it's the plot to the Mighty Ducks.
Right.
So Woody Harrelson is a assistant basketball coach. Apparently, he has a great basketball mind, but he just doesn't get along with people. He's just not a team player. And after getting caught drinking and driving, he is sentenced to community service to go serve as the basketball coach for this Special Olympics team. He goes, he does it. He is, of course, reluctant at first. He forms bonds with his team, learns that they are real people, learns the value of teamwork and friendship and being close with his team, and becomes a better person while coaching them to the championship game. It's every sports movie ever with, with, um, the Special Olympics as the backdrop this time.
Right.
So,
So we had the cast was Woody Harrelson, of course, which is not an actor you enjoy.
I am not a Woody Harrelson fan.
Right.
Now, I have to admit, I don't hate him as much as I used to. There's just something about him that just annoyed me, but I just do not think he's that great of an actor. I'm sorry. I always look at it. You look at the reboot Planet of the Apes trilogy, and the humans were James Franco and John Lithgow, Gary Oldman, and then Woody Harrelson. Seems like kind of a step down to me, but that's my opinion. I know you actually really like Woody Harrelson.
I do. I enjoy Woody Harrelson. I enjoyed him as oh gosh, what was his name on Cheers?
Woody. Yeah. How's that make you feel?
Old. I enjoyed him as Woody on Cheers, and I've enjoyed him. Oh, I loved him as Haymitch in the Hungerman or the Hungerminch games.
The Hungerminch.
I'm very tired, people. In the Hunger Game trilogy,
he was good in that. I must admit.
And I just think that he would be the kind of guy who, like, you'd want to have around at the barbecue just because he's telling some good stories, But I think that he's actually got some talent too.
I'm not saying he doesn't have talent. I'm just saying I don't necessarily like him as an actor.
But anyway,
not to say he doesn't have talent. But
And then Caitlin Olsen plays his love interest, Alex, who was a very charming character too, Shakespearean actress. And she travels around and does Shakespeare for middle schoolers, and takes care of her brother, who happens to be one of the people with
yeah,
disabilities
one of the
on the team.
basketball players that he's coaching.
But the real stars of the show, of course, were the kids with disabilities. You
Yeah.
had the the little brother played by Kevin Iannucci, and a girl who is legitimately cooler than I am and living a way more interesting life than me. Madison Tevlin plays the I guess I would call her like the heart of the team. You know, she's the one who kind of whips them all into shape, Constantina. Um, and there's several other
Now you say that
characters.
that she leads this cool life. Like how exactly? Like
Well, she's been a model. She does like all the social media. She travels all over the place. She parties with people. And one of the things that the movie did that was different than a lot of movies you see with disabilities, um, they did portray these people as people with interesting lives.
yeah, that is one of the things we were talking about this earlier. One of the things the movie really does well is giving you and the Woody Harrelson character, who is the audience point of view character, kind of a look into the world of disabled people, or I don't know what would be the proper term.
People with disabilities.
People with disabilities,
Right.
and showing that there is multiple kinds, there's multiple levels. That because I think when the in general when we hear this person is has some kind of disability,
Especially an intellectual
we
disability.
tend to, I think, overgeneralize and think this person is ter- uh, forever a child in a person's body, in an adult's body, kind of
Right.
thing. And this movie shows that no, there are levels. There are some who are very self-sufficient. They, the one of them has a job
Right.
and
Lives on his own.
lives on his own. Does all this. The others live in a group home and take care of themselves. So, and there are some that can't do that.
Right.
So it's showing. And I think again that's why it's good that they kind of take it from the Woody Harrelson perspective, is that he's learning this as the audience is learning it.
Right. And he's learning it from Cheech Marin, who
Hmm.
is the leader of the community center. Who
Yeah.
did you notice his shirts throughout the throughout the movie?
I want to say yes, but it's been
All
a
of
while.
his shirts like were fundraising shirts, something for hope, pancakes for hope,
Oh yeah, 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 yeah,
marathon
yeah.
for hope. Like I just thought that was so funny.
Uh,
Anyways, but yeah, you had all these different kinds of disabilities, but also people with disabilities that came about in different ways.
yeah.
So like you have the people who were born with different things, like you know, what you would consider a more severe autism
Hmm.
or Down syndrome, or but then you also had the character of Darius, who was the character who refused to play for Woody Harrelson at first,
Hmm.
and he actually received his disability through a drinking and driving accident.
Yeah.
Like we find out later that the reason he won't play for Woody Harrelson is because of his DUI.
Yeah.
And he was hit by a drunk driver, and that caused a traumatic brain injury. And so he's now living with a disability.
Yeah, I think one of the things, I think where I want to come at this film first is that how this measures up to other sports movies, especially
Okay.
other feel good sports movies, family sports movies. I make the comparison to the Mighty Ducks
Right.
a lot, just because that's kind of the storyline. But as you can probably tell, it bears a striking resemblance to just about every other underdog sports movie out there.
Right.
So when that happens, you have to kind of look at it and say, okay, how does this differ? Does it differ in positive ways versus, does it just tell the same story over again? And I gotta say, from a person who's seen a lot of these sports movies, um, I think this one does a lot of things really well.
Yes.
You
Okay.
know, for instance, one of the things I like is that um, Woody Harrelson for the minute he takes over the team, he is adjusting to them.
Right.
You think to, like, again, Mighty Ducks, sorry. Emilio Estevez, when he first takes over the team, he's so reluctant to be there, he basically doesn't care.
Right.
And it takes him a long time. And even though in this one it takes Woody Harrelson a little bit to kind of connect with the team on a personal level, as a coach, he's still out there working with them.
Right. Because, I think if you're a true coach and you actually love the sport, you're going to coach no matter
Yeah,
what.
and like he never talked down to them as players. He was teaching them maneuvers and things that some people might go, "Hey, isn't that a little bit
Right.
advanced for
The
you know?"
pick and roll.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but he's like, "No, we're gonna do this," and I think that was good. He wasn't just slacking off. I love, and again, I love that the relationships that he builds with the team are natural.
Right.
You can see him coming along and starting to carry. He makes the first connection. One of the players, the brother, uh, won't take a shower,
Right.
but he loves animals, and there's a mouse in the shower, and so Woody Harrelson convinces him that you have to you have to go in and get the mouse because you like animals, and you've got to get under the water and do it. So
Yeah.
he's not it never feels like he's ever talking down to them or placating them. He's the relationship that he's building and the caring that he is doing for his team feels natural and earned. What I also like, and again, sorry, spoilers on this one. We should always just put that. Always going to be spoiler alerts on all
The
these
always
movies.
spoiler podcast.
Um, because yeah, the always spoiler podcast. Um, One of the big things I loved about this movie, especially in comparing it to other sports movies, is our team of ragtag come together heroes. They lose.
Right.
They lose the big game.
And I loved especially like, okay, one of the through points is that this character loves to do his only shot is he basically does a
He sh- he shoots it
backwards
behind his over his shoulder. He won't look at the
from
basket,
from the
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 3-point line.
no half court.
Oh yeah,
So that's the only thing he will do. Anytime if he gets the ball and he's going to shoot, it's over the shoulder from half court. And uh you kind of like you get this idea that it's going to get to the end of the game, the championship game, and he's going to do it and it's going to be the first time it ever goes in. One of the characters jokes that, in all the time he's known him, he's never even hit the rim, and you think that it's going to go in and win the game, but it doesn't.
it doesn't, but it does hit the rim.
It does hit the rim, so they are all super excited about it, and
So
it was really sweet.
what you have there is the Rocky moment.
Right.
Again, people, that Rocky lost the match in the original film, but he won because he achieved the goal that he set for himself, which was more important than the arbitrary winner loser thing. So I like that this one kind of revisited that and had that same feel of they went, they played, they had fun, and they won as much as they needed to. They got their personal victory, and that's all they really cared about.
Plus, I got to go to Winnipeg and swim in the swimming pool.
Yeah, and that's
Like,
that's all they wanted. So it was more of a and again, I like that it keeps the through line of Woody Harrelson's character, who is a hardcore coach, and they're celebrating. And he's like, "We lost," and they're like, "No, we didn't. You said we were champions." And he's like, "Oh, okay." And then so it is a complete character arc for
it
him.
really is. And there was just so many little points where he treated them and the movie treated them as adults. Um, you know, like the way like he talks to them as if he would have talked to any other basketball team.
Yeah.
And the characters talk about sex and because they're adults and they're allowed to have sex. And I mean, I guess anyways. Um, but they also talk about their actual real issues, dealing with bosses discriminating against them, dealing with family and who like trying to take care of their family's emotional needs. And, it's a lot like they give them adult problems and allow them to express the ways that they're dealing with them. Um, I will say that I can agree. Now, you make the point that the movie is about Woody Harrelson, so it's, of course it's centered on him.
Well, I make the point that he is the audience point of view character.
Right.
So when you're making the kind of when you're saying that we need more movies about the lives of disabled people told from their point of view and with disabled actors, I do agree with that. But I think this movie, the way it's structured, Woody Harrelson's character is supposed to be kind of as the audience's kind of tunnel into that world. And he's learning these things as we are.
Right.
So that's more the argument I would make.
Well, and I would love to see a movie centered around Johnny,
Mm.
who's, the the main his little best buddy. I would love to see a movie centered around Cosentino and why she carries around various large sporting equipment all the time.
Yeah.
And I just love that she's just kind of mind your business. You do you, I do me. And she also like tells off the assistant coach who's like speaking very slowly and loudly to her, like I have Down syndrome, I'm not deaf, like, she kind of tells them off. But um I think that that's the next step we got to take, is let's make a movie that centers around these people actually using the disabled people to make the movie. There was a movie that came out last year. Last year? The year
I
before?
don't know what movie you're talking about. So
Music. So Music was a movie by Sia,
oh, okay.
and it was about this autistic kid, but the problem was that she did not use an autistic actor. She did not consult with the autistic community. The people who she consulted with are largely held by the autistic community as people who are generally engaging in abusive tactics to try to keep quote unquote autistic kids in line. And the movie itself like showcased harmful holds and techniques that are considered to be bad practice by most people who work with and are involved in the autistic community now. And that was an example of trying to tell a story that you were not allowed to tell. Like, that was not Sia's place to tell that story. That was not the actor's place to tell that story. That one was done badly. Whereas this one was done with much more grace and much more finesse, which is amazing considering it came from Bobby Farrelly.
I mean,
And you are not a Farrelly Brothers fan.
no, not really.
Like one of my favorite movies is Dumb and Dumber, but like you do not
No.
enjoy the Farrellys.
No. No.
So I thought that it had a lot of heart and
Yeah.
and kind of, it was one of those that you leave the movie smiling.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. Now, is there anything from this movie particular that you didn't like in terms of just the film itself?
That's kind of hard. Is there something you didn't like? I feel like you have something you want to
Yes,
talk
but
about.
I want to know if there's I want to know from you first.
Oh, well, just putting me on the spot here.
That's right.
I didn't know we were doing this for a week and should have thought of things. I honestly, I don't know that I can say that there was something in particular that I didn't like. I thought that the lines were kind of wrapped up. I just think that it needs to go the next step further.
Mm.
What about you?
I feel okay. Going back to kind of comparing it to other sports movies or just films and their basic structure. Um, Again, when you have a film like this, you know that the all is lost moment is going to come. Whenever the coach is starting to bond with the players, and all this, something's got to happen that's going to drive a wedge between them. And I think this movie had too many of those. This
You
had
think so?
this had like too many all is lost moments. You know, Woody Harrelson has the fight with his girlfriend over their thing, and therefore the star player is mad at him. All right, there's an all is lost moment. Woody Harrelson gets a job as an NBA coach, and he's going to move, and the team and everybody is mad at him. There's an all is lost moment. It felt like there were too many all is lost moments built in, and I think we could have done with one, or I can't say none, because I think the one that they should have stuck with was him getting um, the job and then turning it down to find a better job with a team that is more responsible than the one he was going to. The ending was very satisfying, but I felt like there's too many all is lost moments, which stretched the film out. And I think you could have taken out some of those, and the film could have been a little tighter and not felt like it meandered quite as much in the middle.
Hmm. I think they all kind of tied together from my personal perspective. I also did enjoy that the main, all is lost moment was where he has to decide whether or not he's going to take this job, where they are using the story of him working with kids or working with teams. They're not kids, they're adults. Um, Forgive me, please. But the team that he wants to go to has had some controversial issues,
Which they never disclose what they are. They just say that there's.
and they want to use this feel good story of him working with people with intellectual disabilities to kind of get their reputation back. So they're basically using them as a tool. And he decides that he does not like that, and he ends up going to Drake University, which,
Yeah.
well, that's another thing we didn't really talk about. This whole movie takes place in Iowa,
Yeah, where we live.
where we live, which was kind of cool.
Of course, that was another fun daughter line. Is as we're leaving, our middle child thought that he quit his job. She thought that he quit coaching the champions to go and coach college, and we had to convince her. It's like, no, he's doing both. The the See, the volunteer stuff is good, but it's not going to pay him.
Yes, you unfortunately have to make the money.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
yes,
We had to convince her of that.
but yes, so that was fun, and they did like do a pretty good representation of the lack of things from city to city and how far you have to drive to get
Yeah.
places.
Yeah.
So that was pretty accurate. But yeah, I don't know. I thought that the that decision was that was a good one, which is interesting because in the Mighty Ducks movies, he does leave to go take a better coaching job.
No, he leaves to go try his hand at minor league hockey.
Oh yeah.
And he even says at the end, no matter what happens, I'll be back next year to to coach you again.
Yeah, but
So
he doesn't come back, and like they end up going to the academy.
no, you're skipping Mighty Ducks too. He does come back because he gets an injury, and then he takes them to the not Olympics.
Yeah,
That's where they fight Iceland.
which is, I mean, who fights Iceland is a great country.
And then
Iceland has zero carbon emissions.
and then yeah, but they're jerks at hockey. So we Americans had to take them down a peg.
Yeah, I just have a
and
hard time believing that.
and then they went to the academy.
Mm.
All right. And then they became space ducks and were fighting lizard people. What,
Was
you
that
didn't watch the cartoon?
no?
No, neither did anyone else. Anyway, back we go.
Back to champions.
All right,
So
so let's.
yeah,
I think we're kind of at the end of this one.
I did love a lot of little parts of it. I loved the family interactions, and I loved the interactions that they had with each other. And,
Yeah.
let's give more people with disabilities jobs. There are lots of us um in the acting and entertainment community, and yeah, let's see some more diversity in that regard.
So, all right. So, final grade for you for Champions.
I'm gonna go with a B. You know, good good showing, but room for improvement.
You know what? Despite our botched taglines at the beginning, we are in agreement on this one. I'm going to give this one a B as well. I think it's a good sports movie. I think it's different enough from all of the others, despite having a lot of the same character beats. I thought it was exactly what it was supposed to be, a good family
Yeah.
night at the movies,
Yep.
and
Mhm.
I like you said, we left smiling. I didn't leave feeling insulted or, like, oh God, that was a dreg,
Right.
so yeah, I think it deserves some praise. So there you have it. So a pretty solid showing.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, all right. So
We hesitate to promise Creed next
yes,
week,
we
but
are. Well, we are trying. I'm trying to convince her we're gonna do some catch ups and try to get some of these episodes in the bank so that
yes, but
we've.
I also must sleep sometimes.
Is it- You'll still get to sleep. You'll still get to sleep, but
Uh-huh.
we're planning to hit a couple things this week, hopefully, and and get back on schedule a little bit now that the show is up and running, and we're not because we're tired. But anyway, so thank you for joining us. Thank you, my love,
Thank
as always.
you.
It's great to be back. Great to be doing these reviews. Thanks for listening. And as always, drive safe, and we will see you at the movies.